What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is season 2, episode 16, and the episode is titled Something Scott's to Give. All right, let's go ahead and talk about it. I know that I missed doing a review last week, so I'm going to add a few tidbits in from last week into this review. But let's go ahead and talk about this episode. So, first of all, we start off with Maurice going over to Marceau's house. So, as we know from last week, when the guys went on that camping trip, the one person who was missing in action was Marceau. Now, why was Marceau missing? It's actually because he got into a car accident. I'm still kind of confused as to why he drove the car that he was driving there. Because I'm like, why are you taking a sports car to a camping trip? Like, you can't even really pack much into that car. Like, what are you doing? But whatever. So he ends up getting into I think he said it was like a 5-car collision, which is terrible. That has to be extremely scary. And, he is happy to be alive at this point. So he ends up meeting up with Maurice just so he can see, how was the trip, because he completely missed it. And Maurice is like, it was good. Martell ended up opening up to everybody. So Marcel is like, so what did he talk about? And he's like, how Mel cheated and just how the kids are, how, other things are happening. And Marcel is trying to get Maurice to say, yeah, Martell has another baby on the way. But Maurice, for some reason, he's showing some type of loyalty to Martell, and he doesn't say that to his brother. I mean, I can't lie. I thought he was going to spill the beans, but he didn't. As we know, last week during that camping trip, there was a few conversations that were rather interesting when it came to the guys camping. The first one would have to be when Sabarik. Wait, if one of his name is Labaric, he's Sadarik. Okay, so Sadarik, sorry, their names confuse me. First of all, where is Destiny's husband? We ain't seen that man since last season, right? I feel like we have not seen him since before she had the baby. When she was pregnant, that's the last time we saw that man. Oh, wait, no. I take that back. He was actually there for the town hall on the first episode. But since then, we have not seen him. But back to this conversation I want to talk about. So, Sadarik, he was telling Martell about how his parents got divorced when he was a kid and how it affected him, and how, just like signs that Martell should really focus on his kids and try to show his kids how much he loves them and let them know that it's not their fault that their parents are going through this divorce. And I'm like, okay, great. I love that he was able to open up and express those things to Martell, because I feel like people are saying those same things to him, but he's not comprehending it and he's not getting it. But I feel like because it's coming from someone who he considers a friend, he's actually listening. So I'm like, okay, cool. But also, during that conversation, not during that conversation, but while they were on that camping trip, the fact that Martell decides to open up about how, Mel has cheated on him before and how she doesn't do things sexually that he wants and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but you already knew who she was. You already knew the type of woman that she was. You already knew there were things that she wasn't with. And now you want to hold that against her? Bye, Martell. Go on somewhere with this. He also ended up, letting the guys know that he had a baby on the way. And Saboric, I'm sorry, I'm about to call him Saboric dermatitis. Oh, Lord. Sadark was like, I thought that I guess because he was hearing these rumors around town. So he's like, I thought that this is my boy. He would let me know if he had another kid on the way. So he's like, yeah, it's true. She's having a baby, and the timeline, it matches up, and it's his baby. So at this point, this is where Maurice, Sadarik, and Martell fully realize that there's never going to be a chance for him to ever get back with Melody, considering now he has a baby on the way. Like, it was one thing for you to consistently cheat, but now you have a whole child on the way. Yeah, there's no chance you're ever getting Melody back. Also, I found it interesting that he told them to kind of keep this on the hush, that he has a baby on the way. But a couple of episodes ago, Wanda came to Marceau and them talking about I heard that he got a baby on the way. So you sitting up here always talking about how Mel is putting all this stuff out here. I don't think Mel is the one who let that cat out the bag. I think it's probably his baby mama, his girlfriend, whatever she want to be called, the peasant that, he likes to call her. She probably putting this information out to people. Who knows? But back to this conversation that happened this week with Maurice and Marceau. Did y'all catch how Marceau, he was taken aback when he heard Maurice say, oh, he told us about how Mel was cheating, and he's like, Mel was cheating? He's like, well, I want to know more about that, because there's a chance that he could get with Mel. I'm sorry, but I feel like he kind of has a little crush on Mel, but he don't really want to say nothing about it. But I think so. I definitely think that he has a crush on Mel. So, Marceau and Maurice, they actually have a conversation about him possibly working with Martell. And Marceau is like, I just feel like I've already been burned once with these 47 acres. And I think that he's trying to bounce back too fast from this divorce. Like, he's an emotional guy, yet he's trying to, make all this happen, have this business deal ready to go and try to work. But clearly he needs to clear his head. And I completely agree with Marceau in this, because I feel like there's no way you're going through this divorce and now you're trying to jump back into work and trying to make all this money. And it's like, the only reason why you're even trying to do all this is to try to stunt on Mel that you don't need her. Like, let's call a thing here. You are only trying to hurry up, get this 47 acres things done, just so that you can stunt on Mel and be like, look what I did without you. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're going to talk about these 47 acres a little bit later in this review. But let's go ahead and talk about this next scene. Okay, so we get a scene of Mel. She is talking to her kids, explaining to them how they all have different hair textures, and no matter what their hair texture is, they are still beautiful. They are young queens, and her son is a young king. And I love seeing Mel with her kids because, first of all, her kids are so cute, and also, Mel is a really great mom. Like, you can tell that she's a really good mom. So she's getting them ready. She tells them that she's gonna be right down, and for them to get all their stuff together. So we see her in her confessional, and she's talking about how, she doesn't like the way that Martell handled things with Wanda, but at the same time, Wanda should have never said anything about their kids, and especially not the kids' hair. And even though Martell, he got in the mud with Wanda, nothing was accomplished after that. Him doing all that yelling with Wanda, nothing was accomplished. So she takes it upon herself to reach out to Tisha. So she ends up calling Tisha, and she lets Tisha know that, she ended up leaving Jalen's party because of the conversation that Martell and Wanda were having. But at the same time, Wanda should have never spoken up about her kids, and she should have never been talking about, their hair. So basically, Mel is just expressing that she's disappointed in how Wanda acted. Now, at this point, I'm like, okay, now we're going to see Tisha realize that her mom is in the wrong. Nope, that is not what we got. We got Tisha saying, oh, well, this just doesn't seem like something that my mom would do, and all this stuff. And I'm like, Tisha, she did it though. Your mom legit said these things, and it's not like this is something that Mel made up. You should not be on the phone line talking about some, oh, well, I don't know how she said these things because this is something she would never say. This just doesn't sound like my mom. Like, girl, she said it. She did it. You should be apologizing for her. Be like, you know what? I'm sorry that, she said these things about your kids, and I'm going to have a serious conversation with my mom. Like, that's how this conversation should go. But as we know, Tisha is always making excuses for Wanda. So, at this point, you have Tisha talking about, let me go ahead and invite you to this event that I'm having where we are celebrating little brown girls. You can go ahead and bring your kids. They're just going to be talking about, their different complexions and how all the little brown girls are beautiful, talking about hair texture and all these things, which I'm like, okay, I do like the idea of this event. I wonder if she did this because she knows that her mom was in the wrong and, trying to stir the pot and trying to talk about Mel's kids. But yeah, nonetheless, the event, it was a very good event. Just one more thing I want to mention about their conversation is that Mel is like, just go ahead and send me the information, tell me when and where it is, so that way I can, figure out if I can bring the girls. So Tisha responds with, I'll send it to you and Martell. And Mel is like, well, you said it was an all-girls event, so I would be the one who's bringing the girls. Like, why would you be trying to text Martell? And she's like, she's like, oh, well, because sometimes Martell, he dropped the girls off. And I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. I'm like Mel at this point. I did not know that information. Like, so you mean to tell me that he's just been dropping my kids off at y'all house? Because now y'all are magically cool enough for the kids to play? Okay, Martell, we see you. But like Mel was saying, like, why would you even, think that I would not be the person who's bringing them? Why would Martell be the person? And then you have Tisha saying, well, he could just drop them off at the event. And Mel is like, no, we're not dropping my kids off to some event. I'll be there. And just go ahead and send me the information. Like, I don't know what Tisha was trying to do within that conversation besides not hold her mama accountable, because that's what she clearly can't seem to do. And secondly, the fact that you even wanted to share the information with Martell seemed kind of messy to me, just because, like, you already know they're going through a divorce. Like, why would it matter if Mel brought them to your event? Like, come on, you don't need to tell Martell everything. And it's weird that Martell, he brings the kids over and drops them off at your house. Like, that is strange considering they did not get along, for a while. And Mel had no knowledge of this. But what more can I expect out of Martell? Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about this next scene, which is Tisha. She's coming home from school, and she has a conversation with Marceau. She just wants to know, like, what happened with him in the accident. And he's like, well, it was a 5-car collision, and how this accident has really put things into perspective for him, because now he's like, well, everything that you do in life, like, it matters. So he wants to make the steps forward to, do good things, and he wants to make an impact. And I'm like, okay, Marceau, see, this is the version of you that we like. Like, honestly, I have liked Marceau this entire time since they have come back on this for the second half of this season. So Tisha ends up asking him, how was it with her mom? So let me go ahead and go back to the last episode for a little bit. So last week, Wanda and Marceau had a conversation to where he was trying to hold her accountable for her actions and how she acted at Jalen's party was unacceptable. She was not accepting that at all because she feels like she can say whatever she wants, she can do whatever she wants when she feels like doing it. And she talks about how she wasn't worried about Kimmy and how we already know she feels like Kimmy is down with the Holtz, as she always says. But Marceau, he was really trying to call her out about it. I mean, he even compared her to being a glass of water with 10% pee in it. And I'm just like, first of all, Marceau, I feel like you were being nice saying it was only 10% pee. Wanda is more like a good 65% water and the rest be pee, because her messiness and her attitude is complete trash. So he also told her last week that she would be sanctioned from Kimmy's events, and she had a funky attitude about that. Now we have this week, and Tisha is asking, how was it with my mom being here? And he's like, listen, I feel like I was fighting for my life. Not only from the accident, y'all, but because of Wanda being there as well. So Marceau goes into the fact that Wanda does not respect boundaries. She don't respect bedtimes, anything like that. And he's like, and she also brought 3 other kids with her. Come to find out, Wanda has custody of these 3 other kids. And I'm just like, oh Lord, y'all let Wanda raise some more kids? That's a lot, considering in this episode we find out that their kids, which they have 3 kids, they went to Wanda's house, wherever she's from. What is it, Birmingham or something? And I'm like, wait, so she had to deal with 6 kids to watch? My God, that's a lot. So now we have Tisha trying to take up for her mom. And this is why I'm going to say she's trying to take up for her, because Marceau, he just says, the conversation, it didn't go well at all. It's very hard to try to get things through to your mom because Wanda feels the way she feels. And she talking about my mom is changing. And he's like, she's what? She's not changing at all. And Tisha is like, she's doing well with you. And like Marceau said, she's not the one making the effort to change. It's him. Like, we've literally watched him this entire season. Well, not entire season, but I mean as far as this second half of the season. To where when Wanda comes on the scene, he tries to ignore her. He usually don't even try to say nothing to her, just so that they don't argue. I mean, he even calls Wanda a bully, and as they are having this conversation, who decides to come in? Wanda and all 6 of these kids. So the kids come in, hug their parents, and then I guess they went upstairs or whatever, right? Okay, cool. So now that Wanda's here, she is involved in the conversation. So Wanda is like, well, I heard you got into an accident since I've been gone. Why would you even take a sports car when you have your big truck outside? And he's like, why would I take my work truck to a camping trip? And I'm just like, well, technically your work truck or whatever is more suitable to take on a camping trip. But you know what? This is Marceau's his life. We gonna let him do his thing. So within this conversation with Wanda, it went so left real quick. But let's go ahead and talk about how he said, yeah, when I called the insurance company, to report the accident, somebody else had already called. And who was that person, y'all? Wanda. She over trying to see if he dead. And he's like, yeah, what you trying to do? Like, collect insurance money on me? Like, what is you doing? Like, the fact that Wanda called before him, I cannot. I seriously cannot with Wanda. So basically, she calls, and like like Marceau said, like, she's not worried about my well-being. She's worried about his wealth being, okay? Because she knows that if Marceau is gone, then Tisha got some money coming, aka she got some money coming. So Wanda is over here talking about how, maybe Marceau was in his car arguing with somebody, which was basically her way of insinuating that he was cheating on Tisha. And he's like, don't you think that if I had somebody else in the car with me, you would know this by now? Especially considering she the one who called the insurance company first. And Tisha, she steps in and she's like, well, do you really think that I would stick around with Marceau if he had somebody else? And as we know, Tisha, you would probably stick around. Let's not act like you wouldn't. So Wanda goes further and it's like, well, I know that he had his hand in a pudding jar. I don't know what jar it was though. And I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, the dude just got out of a car accident. Let him be. So his comeback was, who hurt you, Wanda? Who? Just let us know who hurt you. Oh, why he say that? Because now Wanda done got started up. So she tells Marceau he has a smart mouth, and then she goes on to bring up, what happened when he had that conversation with her about her not going to Kimmy's events, and how Marceau basically let her know that, listen, you have to be accountable for your actions. So, Wanda, she basically says that she don't care about anything that he got to say or that Kimmy has to say. And throughout this whole process, the only thing that, Tisha is saying is, oh, I can't with y'all too. And I'm like, girl, at what point are you going to call your mama out? Like, she's out of line yet again. So, Marceau is like, I feel like they kind of chopped this scene up. Because he goes on to say, I feel like your mom is just trying to, draw like a wedge between us. I feel like she's trying to break us up pretty much. And Wanda is like, well, you've said some things or whatever. And he's like, what did I say? And she brings up the whole other side of the tracks comment that he made. And then he had to clarify, no, Tisha, this wasn't about you. I was saying that your mama, the way your mama was raised, I don't know if I want her around. And I don't blame him because Wanda is messy. So now we already know that Wanda is offended. So she's like, okay, well, I'm about to leave. And Tisha's trying to stop her from leaving. And Marceau's like, nope. She says she's going to leave. Let her leave. So she's like, all right, I'm about to go ahead and leave. And the only reason why I came down here is because Tisha called me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, girl, just get out of these people's house. Like, you already stirred up enough mess. Marceau is tired of it. Just go ahead and leave peacefully and call it a day. So now you have Tisha, she feeling some type of way because she feels like Marceau is disrespectful because I think he told Wanda to shake a bone. I mean, I don't know what type of down south saying that is because I've never heard that in my life, being as I'm from California. But, yeah, she's still over here trying to take up for her mom, talking about how he is being disrespectful. And I'm like, Tisha, at some point, can you please choose your husband first before you keep choosing your mother? I mean, even in the confessional, Marceau is like, your mom picked this fight with me first. She's the one who has accused me of cheating. Like, how do you not see this? And Tisha's response is, I don't understand why we can't all just move past this. And I'm like, you're still not understanding that you need to check your mother and hold her accountable for the things that she says, for the things that she does, the way that she treats people, also the way she even treats you. Like, she needs to be held accountable. She needs to, fix her attitude. So Wanda ends up leaving and their conversation continues, and he's basically like, listen, I'll step up with the kids. I just need your mom to stop, being here all the time. So Tisha is like, well, are you really going to step up? Because as we know in the past, Marcel was not that much of a caretaker for the children. And she's like, you just want me, this is when they're in the confessional, she's like, you just want me to, be this stay-at-home mom. And he's like, no, I just want your mother to stay at her home and for you to be at ours. Because the only reason why Wanda was even there was because Tisha went out of town so that she could do some type of school or whatever. And I'm like, girl, we going through a pandemic in the first place. All your schooling should be online. What are you doing? So they pretty much ended off this argument with, Tisha going upstairs because she said she was tired. And then we also had Marceau. He was walking out the door because he was frustrated with the whole conversation. Before she even went upstairs, though, Tisha was like, why'd you take your sports car? That's not a camping car, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, I took it because I have options and all this stuff. And she ends up going upstairs and he ends up walking out. And I'm just like, yeah, Wanda don't need to come around anymore. She's definitely trying to break them up. Like, she caused all of this ball of confusion and then she gets to leave and go home while y'all are still dealing with it. Like, y'all need to go ahead and drop Wanda. Alright, so this next scene we see Martell. He goes to see his friend Chris. And he is basically there to tell him that the 47 acres that he owns, he can't sell it because he's going through this divorce. Now, my only question about him not being able to sell this, like, is it because of, you're processing a divorce so you cannot move any assets or anything? Or is this because he doesn't want to split the money with Mel? That's my main question. Like, is it that he does not want to split the money with Mel, that he doesn't want to sell this property? Well, not even property, it's land. But also, Chris is like, well, we've already been going through this process for like a year, and if you don't sell, basically if he doesn't sell his property to this other company, then he's going to be hit with some other lawsuits. So Martell is like, well, I'm basically preparing to hit rock bottom. And I'm like, yikes. Like, you need to go have a conversation with Mel and see if you can figure out a way to sell these 47 acres instead of always being an a-hole whenever you're around her. Alright, so we get to the Hey Brown Girl event, and I must say it was a really cute event. Tisha and her cousin did a great job explaining things to the girls and just celebrating little brown girls being beautiful and brown and having all types of different skin tones and hair textures, and I was all for this event. So we have Mel. She does end up bringing her girls there, and, they seem to enjoy it, and I must say, Mel looked great. I really did like her outfit. And she ends up meeting up with Destiny and Kimmy. So Destiny ends up letting her know that she is planning to have a little girls' retreat weekend type thing, and she would love for her to come. And Mel is like, I'm just going to let bygones be bygones. So, yeah, I'll go. And Kimmy is like, wow, I didn't think that, Mel would, say yes so quickly because, she's going through this divorce and there's so much stuff going on. But Mel, she's down for it. So when Tisha comes over, Destiny is like, hey, I want to do this retreat. Would you want to come? And she's very hesitant. Like, she's like, oh, well, how many days will it be for? And do we have to drive ourselves just in case something, goes down? And she's just asking all these questions. And you can already see that, like, Mel is, like, giving her the side eye. Like, girl, your energy, I'm not really feeling it. Mel, she ends up walking away so that she can go check on her girls. And while she stepped away, you basically have Tisha talking about how there needs to be some boundaries and, she just doesn't want things to go left. And they're like, okay, well, let's come up with like a safe word so that way if things get too heated, we can just say this and it kind of like deads the conversation. So, Kimmy ends up saying pineapples, like, because once we say pineapples, then that means I'm done and we're done with this. So, Mel, she goes and checks on her girls and then she ends up coming back. And she pulls Tisha to the side and she's like, listen, I didn't really like your energy a second ago while we were talking about going on this retreat. Like, I'm not trying to have no bad energy. I'm not trying to have no bad blood with you. Like, I'm just trying to move forward, let bygones be bygones. So, Tisha, she understands where Mel is coming from, but she still has her reservation just because of the last trip that they had. Her and Mel really got into it where Mel was basically telling her, like, girl, you over here trying to, look down on me when your husband's cheating on you as well. But they both decide that, they're going to go on this trip and they're going to make the most of it. So Destiny and Kimmy ended up coming back over and they kind of just go around talking about how, they are women and they are, making boss moves. Like, they literally went around and listed out, like, dope things that were happening with them. So, like, Kimmy was doing something with the NAACP. What did Mel have going on? Something about her being, like, the ambassador for, like, Birmingham or something like that. What's her name? Tisha. She's talked about how, they're having a soft launch for Black, which is her place for her husband. And then you have Destiny. She's doing something with like business. And I'm like, that's really dope that all these ladies are, really out here. They're hustling, but they're getting things done. And I think that's just really amazing. So let's go ahead and talk about this scene next. Alright, so we have Martell. He's going to his mom's house with the kids and they go to bake cookies. So after, the cookies are baking, he has a conversation with his mom about Mel. And he just doesn't appreciate the fact that Mel puts things out on social media. And he feels like, she needs to keep things private. And his mom is like, listen, I understand what you're saying, but she's kind of lashing out because this is a lot for her to process. And she basically lets him know that, Mel will always be her daughter-in-law because she really does love Mel and has a bond with her. Alright, so what got me, though, was that she asked him, like, well, what about these other rumors that I'm hearing about online? And he's like, well, yeah, they're true. So now his mom knows that he has a baby on the way, and she starts to cry because now this is officially, the real end to Martell and Melody. So at this point, I feel like this is where his mom and him kind of realize that there is no coming back from this. This is really the end of the relationship. And that's pretty much where this episode left off. Like, that was pretty much the end of the episode. Let me know what you guys thought about it. And go ahead and drop it down in the comments below. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.